Welcome. Hello. On behalf of Library Makers, I'd like to welcome you to Making It Work, defining our shared library makerspace challenges. My name's Cindy Place, and I am currently the chairman of the Library Makers leadership team. Library Makers is an online community that connects and supports library staff from all over the country and even in some other countries. In libraries, big and small, who are at different parts in their makerspace or maker programming journey. Whether you're just getting started, you have a cart, or you've been making for many years, we welcome you to our online community. Library Makers has its own social platform where you can connect and get to know one another, share questions, ideas, and resources, enjoy blog posts relevant topics, and peruse a video library of past events. Please note that today's event will be recorded. To begin today, I'd like to describe to you our current problems of practice project and how we got to this point. First of all, problems of practice. What we mean when we refer to that term is we are looking at the challenges that library makers anywhere, makerspace people who are doing Make Your Program. We're looking at the challenges that we all face. And we are hoping with this project to be offering a little bit more concise set of problems of practice and possibly even some solutions. So this project, which I'll explain later, is a biggie for us, and we are hoping that we will end up with a project with a product that will help everyone. So some of the questions that you ask, do you have room? Do we have staff? Do we have the money? Do we have the skills? Those are all the kinds of questions that our problems of practice address. Next. Okay, so how did we get here? With this particular session, the leadership team met in person in September, and one of our goals was to look at our problems of practice, to refine them, to review them, and to compare them to data that we had. So we started gathering, we formed teams and with the leadership team, and each team has a problem of practice. There are 5 of them that we are addressing. We're reviewing them, we're refining them. Big point 2 is we're gathering data from other libraries and we're talking to other librarians so that it's not just our views. We're looking at what other people are running into in problems and possible solutions. We're hoping to we have created concise descriptions for each problem of practice so that it's clear what it is we're addressing. We plan to conduct roundtable discussions in early 2026. There actually is a schedule, which you'll see at the end of the seminar. And our end goal for our Problems of Practice project is to create strategies for library makerspaces and maker programming. And it will include examples of other libraries and their solutions and how they've addressed these challenges. So from there, we will go to Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm Lisa Regala. I'm the treasurer of our leadership team, and I'm the project director of the IMLS grant that helped fund Library Makers. And I just wanted to add on one thing, Cindy, to what you said too. These problems of practice started forming even when Library Makers was forming. When we were just putting this community together, we were saying, what should we talk about? What are these common shared challenges that we all have? And so I'm really excited to be at this point where we are with this project, because it's been several years in the making of kind of collecting information and data over time about hearing from all of you in our community about what are these challenges facing you. And as part of that, we're joined by some special guests today from the National Library Makerspace Forum team. And so Dr. Kyungwon Ko and Emilie Butt are from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and Dr. Rebecca Teasdale from the University of Illinois, Chicago. So Kyungwon is actually an advisor on our Library Makers IMLS grant, and she and her team invited library makers to be a partner on their Library Makerspace Forum project. And so we've been really working together the past year and a half, I'd say, on kind of our parallel initiatives, and we've been not so secret admirers of each other's work. So I'm really happy to have them here. They're going to share about the research they've been doing this year, and then we'll talk about how it relates to our project. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you see my slides and can you hear me and everything good?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for having us in today's webinar. As Lisa mentioned, I'm so glad and also proud that we are now working as a silo. We are just actively collaborating and working together toward this shared mission of advancing and sustaining this library maker spaces field. Again, I'm so happy to be here presenting about the National Forum to Connect and Advance Library Maker Spaces. This is another IMLS funded initiative. My name is Dr. Kyungwon Ko, the project director of this forum and also associate professor at the iSchool at the University of Illinois. And I also serve as the director of the Champaign-Urbana Community Fab Lab. I'm joined by the project co-director, Dr. Rebecca Teasdale, from the University of Illinois, Chicago, educational psychology, and Emilie Butt, instruction and engagement coordinator at the Champaign-Urbana Community Fab Lab, serving as the project coordinator for this initiative. We'll begin with a brief introduction to the project and our team, followed by key findings from the strategic planning listening sessions, and I'll then conclude with our strategic vision and key insights. As I mentioned earlier, three of us are all affiliated with University of Illinois systems, but our team really represents different maker groups nationwide, including ALA Maker Technology Interest Groups, Library Makers, and the National Makers Libraries Working Group. And now it's the new group, right? Library, no, Makerspace. Okay, help me, Emily.
National Maker Collective.
National Maker Collective. So new groups emerged during our forum journey too. Our forum addressed the three goals, like one, facilitate coordination among the nation's maker groups to build a stronger nationwide network, to reflect on leverage accumulated knowledge, and three, chart the future of library maker spaces. So we've undertaken several activities to advance these goals. First, throughout the forum period, our cross-institutional team of maker groups has convened working group sessions to coordinate effort and share strength and resources. We also held a library maker spaces research showcase that highlighted the latest research and scholarship on library maker spaces. So if you were unable to attend, please feel free to check out our project website. You can access all the recordings and presentation materials there. We held, let's see. Yeah, and we held a series of listening sessions to collaboratively design the future of library maker spaces, which we will share in this presentation. So I'll now pass the mic to Dr. Rebecca Teasdale, who will present the findings from our listening sessions.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyungwon. So the first thing we did when we got folks together was we invited them to reflect on the values that underpinned our work in library maker spaces. And so on the next slide, I think we can see, so the first thing we talked about was values. We asked folks to share their vision, sort of what they saw as the future of maker spaces at multiple levels. We also asked folks to share the priorities that they see in the field, and then the resources that we're going to need in order to achieve that vision and advance those priorities. So we started by talking about values. And we wanted to really understand what the core values were that were really guiding people's work in their individual maker spaces and as a field. And this is kind of that emotional heart of what we're doing. Like, what do we stand for? What are those most essential values that are underpinning this work? And it was really great to see how a common set, a shared set of values emerged in the conversation. So across all of the different listening sessions that as we talked to folks, kind of the next slide, please. We saw these 5 sets of values that emerged, right? So folks prioritized access and accessibility as one of the core values that was motivating and driving our work in library makerspaces generally. Also a value around community and how makerspaces both can build community within makerspaces and reach out to the larger community. We saw a consistent value around creativity and how we can foster and nurture and support that creativity. A value around inclusion, creating inclusive, welcoming spaces that are characterized by a sense of belonging, and also supporting learning in all of the making activities that we undertake in our spaces. So with this understanding of values, then we wanted to know, all right, what's the vision? Like, how are we going to know if we succeed? What's it going to look like? So we asked people to describe what success looks like for their makerspaces and for library makerspaces in general. We asked people to talk about their broader vision for the future and kind of what they're hoping to create by having a successful makerspace. And then thinking about kind of our futures more broadly. What are we aiming to contribute to and advance in the world itself? So the visions that people shared unfolded at multiple levels, which was actually really exciting to see. So kind of the first level we want to share with you is their vision for the makerspaces themselves. So people talked about the spaces being really vibrant and well utilized, busy, active spaces, right? They talked about a vision of having diverse users across many different backgrounds, identities, professional disciplines, and affiliations, whether that's within a university community, thinking about different departments on campus, or in a public library setting where it would be different aspects of the community. In order to engage those diverse users, folks talked about the environment itself and creating a vision for makerspaces that are welcoming, inclusive, and accessible in their environments and interactions within the spaces. And then extending from that makerspace to their parent organizations, whether that's a larger library structure, a campus community, a school, having the makerspace be really seamlessly integrated into those parent organizations and widely recognized and valued by that larger community, whatever that might be for this particular makerspace. So that was the vision for the makerspaces. We also talked about visions for the makers, sort of what can happen for people that come and engage in these spaces. And so folks shared a vision for the individual makers having expanded knowledge, having broadened and deepened skills, having greater literacies as it relates to making activities. They also talked about wanting makers to have increased confidence in themselves as makers and more broadly, and increased joy, kind of this recognition that making is fun and has a positive benefit in people's lives. And that makers would experience greater success in whatever pursuits they prioritize, whether that was their academic work, their creative activities, or entrepreneurial activities. And then they took it even further and talked about a vision for the community or for society beyond. So we had a conversation about what it would look like to have more connected communities, that the makerspace could help facilitate those relationships and connections. Greater sustainability in our world through practices like repair and reuse and waste reduction that takes place in our spaces, and then more equitable access to the resources and technologies and opportunities that our makerspaces foster. I'm going to hand it over to Emilie to talk about the next 2 components, but I also want to echo Cindi mentioned to drop questions in the chat. We would also love to hear how this resonates for you. So if something we're saying is showing up in your space, we would love to hear about it. So invite you to chime into the chat as well. And if you can share what library you're at, that's even better. But I'll hand it to Emilie.
Yes. Okay, so after talking about our values and our vision, we moved into our priorities, which were what are the key things that we should focus on over the next 5 to 10 years? And we did this both with thinking of the vision that we had and our values, but also asking them in their spaces what they were looking at over the next 5 to 10 years. What were the key requirements that they saw to achieving these visions? And what are the challenges that we must overcome to actually reach these goals? And yep, we found that there were around 5 areas or priority areas that a lot of people focused on. The first one was sustainable infrastructure. So, wanting to make sure that we invested in our infrastructure so we had consistent operations, fair policies, clear procedures, and that the operations were scalable. This included both tangible and intangible elements. So, it included things like physical resources, digital systems, operational systems, but also knowledge resources and internal policies so that you know what to do in different situations and support for staff. All of this was basically we need to have a key, strong foundation that we can work off of for anything else to be successful. Then we also had a focus on community engagement and partnerships, and specifically on authentic engagement with communities to ensure that the programs and services are aligned with that community's needs and wants. And this included commentary on listening practices and collaborative planning, as well as building strategic partnerships with other organizations for resource sharing or expertise partnerships and institutional alliances to help make our work more broad. And then, as many people can probably empathize with, one of the key priorities was staff development. Needing to invest in our staff, in their continued growth, recognizing that gaining expertise takes time, that this is not something that will just be like one workshop and done, and recognizing that this really needs to be a continual investment that is happening in the staff. And kind of backing that up was advocacy and communication, both internally within your libraries and library systems, as well as in the more broad profession. So this is constitutes like recognizing makerspaces as a core library service, clarifying terminology around makerspaces, clarifying the makerspace's role in the specific library and what it offers, as well as being able to better demonstrate the value of makerspaces and what we offer. All of these things coming together to really say, what is it we're doing and why, and what is the value we present to our institution and our community. And then finally was adaptability and innovation. And this was adapting both to changes in technology and trends, but also to needs of your community. So this is not fully centered around technology. It is focused on recognizing that things change over time, and the library and the makerspace needs to be able to adapt and be flexible and innovate with it. And there is a lot in this about professional learning, staying responsive and listening to your community, as well as making sure to evaluate and see where your community's values are, as well as bringing in our domain expertise from our field to evaluate ethics around a lot of these technologies as well. And then from there, we went into resources. So to achieve these priorities and to work towards them, what are the resources that we need to actually function and reach those goals? And that also came into around 5 different areas that people highlighted quite frequently, which also probably is not surprising to many of you here. The first one is adequate, reliable, sustained funding. This includes funding not just to start up a makerspace and get technology to begin with, but recognizing that you're going to need money for refreshing tech over time, keeping things updated, for continual training for your staff, to have enough staff time to be in the space as well. A key part of this was funding that could be relied on year to year and sustained over time. And then they brought up multiple times how staff capacity was a cornerstone to having successful makerspaces. That staff being representative of the local community, but also that the staff have protected time for working in either the background work needed for the makerspaces or staffing the makerspace itself. The fact that librarians had many different responsibilities often meant they had little time for makerspace work, and many were reporting actually doing a lot of their professional development and learning independently outside of work hours. So a big part was they needed time that was protected to actually engage in the work to make that makerspace successful. And connected to that, they needed resources and pathways, professional development and training. They wanted clear pathways to move forward and to advance in the field, which included, but is not limited to, inclusion of makerspace technology in library school curricula, financial assistance for professional development, as well as stronger networks for peer-to-peer learning and resource sharing as well. And related to that, they had structures for the knowledge sharing and networking between people working in this area, like we have with library makers right now. So strengthened interlibrary communication, so between people in library systems, between different libraries, but also nationwide communication between practitioners, being able to discuss concerns, ask questions, share resources, things that they've created so that we avoid reinventing the wheel over and over again. So this was a big area of recognizing that there are many people doing valuable work, but it's often hidden away and being able to strengthen our network overall. And to make all of this successful, we needed organizational and community buy-in, making sure that the things that your makerspace is offering to your community are actually in line with what your community actually wants, that your community is supporting and giving feedback on what they're hoping to see or what they like about what's in your space, and that it is supported by the staff there, that the staff are invested and wanting to learn and wanting to support the space. All of this was to make sure that new offerings don't really create apathy or chaos, but that they are in line with what the growth is that the community is hoping to see, and that it has administrative support, both financially, but also administratively of marketing, networking, being able to show off what you have. And one part of this that was pointed out was getting attention of stakeholders with money, as that ties back into our adequate and sustained funding. You can see a lot of these things are very interconnected, and they all kind of bleed into each other over time, showing how crucial each part of this is to being able to reach those goals. And I'll pass it back on to Kyungwon to talk about our strategic directions.
Hey, thank you so much, Emily and Rebecca, for sharing the findings from the listening sessions. So now I'll be presenting the key insights and future directions. And these insights emerged from our synthesis of all forum activities, including the working group meetings, listening sessions, research symposium, and our many conversations and discussions. And due to time constraints, I'll focus on the strategic recommendation part. If you'd like to read more, the public feedback edition of the report is still available on our website. So although the comment period's just closed, and we are now preparing the final version for the release in January, you're still welcome to review the public feedback editions. And at the end of the presentation, we'll be inviting you to our concluding webinar, which will be January 23rd, to learn more about it. So strategic recommendations. So we have 5 directions that we are kind of summarizing all our key findings. The first, strengthen the foundations. So library maker spaces need strong, sustainable systems to thrive. This include clear policies, smooth workflows, and well-designed service models. It also means having reliable physical and digital infrastructure. So from tools and equipment to scheduling systems, tracking tools, learning resources, and data management. So strong systems can help streamline daily operations and make it easier for teams. We also heard a clear need for diverse and stable funding. So depending on the library, this might mean a mix of institutional support, grant, community partnerships, or even some revenue generating activities. And a blended approach can help reduce dependence on any single source or support and support long-term stability. Second, grow the people. So the future of library maker spaces depends on the people who read, teach, and create in them. So professional learning should support staff at every stage of their career. So this can include like university courses, certificate programs, continuing education, mentorship, or other leadership opportunities. And we also heard a strong interest in structured mentoring programs and peer learning networks that connect students, new professionals, and experienced staff members. And importantly, those professional development must be accessible, flexible, and affordable, especially for rural and under-resourced communities. Third, build connections and networks. Sustaining the momentum across this field requires strong intentional collaborations. One of the things that we found really powerful was our regular working group meetings throughout the national forums. So like one important piece was, for example, there are many things that we can achieve together, like for example, share the digital infrastructure, like online platforms where people can connect, share resources. And this could be like repositories of lesson plans, tutorials, research, toolkits, or virtual communities of practice, just like this, like library makers communities. So the regular opportunities for dialogue, such as forums, conferences, or working groups, really help surface the new needs and keep the community stays connected. Fourth, elevate the message. Like there's a strong need for a strong shared identity, which will help library maker spaces gain further visibility, credibility, and support. So by clearly explaining who we are, why this work matters, we can build understanding and trust among funders, library leaders, policymakers, and the public. So we think like this include reframing the narrative around our shared values, which we presented like community access, creativity, learning, and inclusions. Also developing a really clear evidence-based messages that resonate with different audiences. Finally, look ahead. So, in order to stay vibrant and relevant, we must continue to evolve with the world around us. Changes always happen. And this is not only about adapting new tools, it's about engaging thoughtfully with all the values, challenges, and opportunities that shape how communities learn, create, and connect. So, taking this all together, these recommendations, we are hoping to offer a roadmap for sustaining and advancing library maker spaces as vital and essential part of the 21st century librarianship rather than an add-on or niche places. Uh, yeah, so to learn more about the forum, please visit our website. Again, we'll be presenting our concluding webinar in January, and stay tuned for the final report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was amazing to hear all the research and work that you put together. Part of how this webinar came about is that in addition to being, part of the forum team, this group had presented their initial findings at the MIRA conference this summer. It was a virtual conference. Let me see if I get the acronym right. I think it's Makerspaces for Innovation and Research and Academics, something like that, in academia, close enough for that conference. And I was participating with them, and I heard these findings, and I thought all these ding, ding, ding light bulbs went off because there was so much overlap between those values you heard and the priorities that they went through in what we were talking about, as Cindi described, of these problems of practice. And so it was just really great timing because we were in the process of sort of vetting and seeing if our problems were resonating with everyone to kind of have this research. So our team, as Cindi said, we had met in person in September, and we all looked through all of these documents and used it to help refine our problems of practice. So that's what I'm going to share with all of you now. And then after that, Pam's going to talk. Oh, go ahead, Cindi.
I was just going to interrupt real quick. There was a comment that after the presentation by the forum, under Connect and Build the Network, and a traveling expert program might be of interest. So adding something like that. So that was a comment that was made that I wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you. It's a great idea. Yeah, so I'm going to go through, share my screen again and talk through where we're at right now. This is always a work in progress, but this is where we're at right now with our 5 problems of practice. I'll give kind of the overview of all of them, and I'm going to go through each one quickly. And as I do, again, let us know in the chat, like, does this problem resonate with you, or do you have a great strategy for how you address this problem that you want to share with the group as well. We'll kind of shift to how we're going to find some of these strategies to how we address these later in the session too. So the first one is about outreach and engagement, and you're going to hear some of similar language, right, than you heard from earlier. The second is about making the case. The third is about being accessible and welcoming. The fourth, sustainable and future ready. And then the last on staff growth and empowerment. So I'll go through each one and talk a little bit more, but again, would love to hear from all of you too about how these resonate with you. So the first is outreach and engagement. This challenge kind of centers on the difficulty that library makers face in developing authentic engagement and outreach practices that strengthen the understanding of a community's local needs and interest. So traditional outreach approaches, they might not fully capture, right, or reflect the diverse perspectives within a community. So this can lead to like limited participation in some maker programs. So we want to think about how library maker outreach efforts can be inclusive, culturally responsive, intentionally designed to really recognize and elevate the creativity and ingenuity and skills that are already present in each and every one of your communities that you serve. So that our programs can be more accessible and relevant and empowering for all participants. Problem 2 is around making the case. So this challenge involves clearly articulating and demonstrating the value and impact of makerspaces and maker programs. And you heard some of this echoed in the research as well. This could be to stakeholders of many types. That could be participants in your programs, that could be to other staff, that could be to your boss, that could be to other funders or community partners, right? So when we lack kind of a shared evidence-based narrative, it becomes hard to show why these maker services matter, right? And to be able to advocate for their continuation. So this also affects all of our ability to secure those essential resources that you heard Emilie go through, right? So the staffing, the funding, the training, the infrastructure, right? Because without a compelling case for the impact of the work that we're doing, people might not recognize the breadth of support that's actually required to operate and sustain a high quality makerspace and maker services, which we know it does take quite a lot of resources to do that. Our third problem of practice is around being accessible and welcoming. So this challenge really focuses on understanding the diverse needs of our local communities to create these accessible and welcoming maker spaces and programs to really intentionally address cultural, socioeconomic, developmental, physical barriers that would prevent someone from having full participation in a program. So, we ask, like, how do we identify and amplify libraries that have had really successful inclusive practices? How do we gather resources and visuals from them, develop tips for different library types, compile ideas from the field, and track key context to support all of us, like to lift all of us, right, into creating more equitable maker engagement. Our next problem is around being sustainable and future ready. So this challenge focuses on really creating stable, well-supported maker services that can grow and evolve, not just with, we always think of technology, right? But not just technology, but with community needs, whatever your community needs are. And so, many libraries, I'm sure you are among them, face challenges related to funding, to staffing, training, operational systems, and that can really limit our long-term success in keeping your maker program going for years to come. And so as a result, maker programs often lack a lot of the structural systems and support that are necessary to remain equitable, to remain relevant and integral to the library's mission over time. I messed up something in my shared screen. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Couldn't see my slides anymore. There we go. Okay. Last one, number 5. Is number 5 up on the screen? Okay, something a little funny on my end, but is around staff growth and empowerment. So this problem centers on the challenge of cultivating a well-prepared and empowered workforce, right? That's really capable of delivering diverse learning experiences within makerspaces and programs. So we know that many of you are struggling to recruit and retain staff with the necessary skills. And just like, we heard echoed in the research too, without these like comprehensive training pathways that support someone's development in all stages of their career, starting from in library school, but all the way through working in a library and beyond. So that could involve, on the job training, formal education, workshops, conferences, a community of practice, however that growth can happen. But, staff that they need that to help build confidence, to deepen their expertise as, technologies and things change, and effectively meet the evolving needs of the community as well. So that those are the 5 problems. I wasn't able to see the chat while I was presenting if anything popped up, but hopefully we'll see if any of those, would love to hear again if any of those are resonating with you, or if anything pops up that you thought, wow, our library has done a great job at helping to solve one of these problems. Because I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Pam, who's going to talk about how you can get involved now with this project.
Yes, because hi everyone, Pam Van Helsema here. I know that I would just like to see emojis or a show of hands. Like, do any of them sound familiar? Do you like, oh yeah, I think about that. I can't sleep at night, whatever. They sound familiar. Okay, great. So you already know these challenges. You live these challenges every day. But we know that you are the ones, those who are working in the makerspaces who have the creative solutions too. We just want to have a way to invite you to share your idea. And it's not going to be the same creative solution for every library because every library is different because they serve a different group of people. They're set in different physical locations. Some maker spaces only are a cart on wheels. Some are only a tub from Home Depot where you take some tools out and you stick them on a table. Some are in a mobile van that you share. So the solutions are going to be unique, but but we can learn from each other's unique perspective and resourcefulness. And there's nothing resourceful like a librarian, I gotta say. I mean, that is like basically who you are. You find cool resources and put them into action. So we want to invite our members, library makers, and there's over 2,000 members now of our community all over. They're literally all over the world, but mostly in the United States, Canada. But we want to invite our members to be the solution partners. And during this short several months, we would like to curate a collection of possible solutions that we could share with one another, break down some of these silos, figure out how we can help each other, and use our platform at Library Makers to produce value that's practical and useful so that we can better fill these needs, address these challenges, and set priorities like the ones that our guests presented today. And so go ahead to the next slide. We're asking you, everyone on this call and people in your network, would you please, please, please share with us some of your strategies, a little anecdote, a story, a picture, an idea, a photo, an example. And if it's like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time to write up everything, write one sentence and then we'll follow up with you. We'll give you a call and you can talk to us or something like that. We just want to know the real solutions that are really happening now. I don't want to just be in a research library. I love research libraries. Nothing wrong with research libraries, but I want to know in the field right now the things that you're trying and the things that seem to be working. And you can even share with us things you've tried that didn't work. I mean, we can all learn from that too. I mean, that's the maker philosophy, isn't it? Try again, iteration, learn from your mistakes, whatever. And actually, if it didn't work in your place, it might work in somebody else's actually. So we really want a broad participation of input from each and every one of you. And I want to just put that challenge out there. It was like, do you think that every one of you on this call today would give us one idea or one example? I would really challenge you and hope that you'd be make the time to just do that. And go to the next slide so I can tell you how. What are different ways you could share those things with us? Well, I want to give you 3 ways. So one might work better for you than another. The first way is you can submit an example via a form that we've posted on our website. And it's basically a Google form, and it allows you to like put your general contact information, what library you're from, and then I've listed the 5 different problems of practice with a little like thing where you can type in some information under it. Okay. Or there's a thing where you can upload a document. So let's say you do great marketing and outreach with a certain group and you have this poster you use and you want to share that poster. You can like type a little description in outreach and engagement, and then you can upload a copy of the poster. Amazing. That would be so helpful to us to hear that example. So that form is on our website. And in a minute, we can look at the website. I can show you exactly where, but it is in the news feed right now. It is on our blog page. It's in 2 places that you can look. The second way is you can sign up to, just like you're in this forum today, you can sign up to attend a virtual roundtable discussion. And we're going to have 5 weeks, one on Wednesdays, starting in January 14. There's going to be a 1-hour roundtable discussion for each of those problems of practice, where there is not going to be a big formal presentation, guys. It's going to be us just talking. So if you don't want to take the time to write something up and send it something, just come and like, hey, this is something I tried verbally. You can share it with us there. We'll take notes because we want to hear from you. You can see we've scheduled those. They're not all at the same hour based on the people who are volunteer librarians. People, that's who's doing this. People like you who volunteer their time to help with this project. We're just a little bit different availabilities. That's why the hour of the day is slightly different, but there's going to be library makers folks facilitating those discussions. And then the third way is if this really sounds good to you and you would like to get more involved, that would be fabulous. It's kind of a short-term volunteer commitment to join one of our research groups. And our research groups, we have, it's like 2 or 3 people for each of the 5 problems who are actually trying to collect the data from the field. And if you would like to join one of those groups, we would love to have you. And we really have, it's the whole project has to be 100% done by the end of June. So we're going to be doing that collecting the first couple of months of the year. And then what we're going to do is we're going to formalize what we found into a publication. We've promised IMLS with our grant that we will publish solutions for a free publication that people can get. And so you can be a co-author on those. We will credit you. This is good for your professional development, for your career, for your resume. If you even know a grad student who's getting their, library degree, and this might be a good experience for them, for their resume, suggest it to them, because we could use more people around the country to be seeking these ideas, seeking these examples. The more people we have, the better, especially with an all-volunteer project. We need a lot of people to be suggesting things. So those are the 3 ways. That same form that was mentioned in number 1 has a place where you can say, yes, I want to be part of that. It's the same form that you use. So those are 3 ways how to be a solution partner. That's what I want to call this kind of engagement, a solution partner dealing with these problems of practice. And go ahead to the next slide.
Pam,
Cindi,
I also, so
yeah.
everybody knows, I put a link to that form in the chat.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then all of the events that I mentioned, those roundtables, they're already posted on our website. So if you were afraid you're going to forget, you can go ahead and RSVP to them right away. I posted them all last night on the website. Another thing, you may or may not be familiar with this publication that we previously have made called the Makers in the Library Toolkit. the first edition was was based on California libraries, and it came out a few years ago. And then lo and behold, we formed Library Makers after that. And so Library Makers, our group, worked very hard to update the resources and published a second edition. So it's not just reflective of California libraries, it's reflective of libraries across the country with updated resources and information. This, again, was funded by IMLS. It is a free resource. Anybody in the world can go online and download it. And it has a dedicated website, makersinthelibrary.org, but you can also access the information in the chapters of this. 185 pages, great practical tools. It's on our website. And some of the problems of practice have some possible strategies and solutions in this publication, but we're just looking for more. And this is one place if you want to just have a good handy resource, you could use this. And this is not only for libraries that are starting their first makerspace, but it's an iterative process to constantly improve your library, to evaluate it, to grow it, to get funding. There's all kinds of resources for that in this publication. All right, what's the next slide? Oh, that's just the end slide. So we can maybe go back a little bit. Don't necessarily have to have that slide on there. I would like to just invite questions, comments for any part of this presentation for any of our speakers. Was anybody on the call like to unmute themselves and just call out a comment or a question? And it's okay if you don't have one. There's Stuart was asking staff
I think
growth and empowerment would be a good place to help out potentially. That's awesome. Yes, Stuart, you've been great on our news feed, offering examples of 3D printing tricks and tips and projects that are very inspiring.
Yeah, and I want to mention with Library Makers, we do a lot of this really groundbreaking, helping organize, focusing on problems. But there's also the simple matter of on our news feed, if somebody's buying a 3D printer and wants to know the best way to store filament, or you've got a bunch of teens that want to do a 3D project, or you've got a bunch of teens that want to do a sewing machine project, and then it's just our like Pam said, we have over 2,000 members. Somebody chimes in and will say, well, here's the registration form that I used. And so, I mean, that's a really important part of what Library Makers offers is an in-time, real-time, real solutions from other library makers. So I just want to
Also,
point
job
out,
descriptions. That's a
yes,
common
it's
question. Share your job description. There's a great question, which we have to highlight this question. Is it okay to participate if you do not have a library science degree? Oh my goodness, of course. Wow. Yes, please, please, please. Now, we do have esteemed researchers on the call today, but we know that who is the person working in your makerspace? And who's probably the best person to work in your makerspace? It may be an artist. It may be a computer geek. It might not be someone with a library science degree. Very likely. So actually, and we realize that some of you people that are on this call may be working in your library right now at the circulation desk and unable to speak out loud. And we know how busy you are. But we are not gatekeepers of that kind of thing. That's not who we are at Library Makers. We believe library maker spaces can look different, and the people who work in them are usually all different. So we think everyone has something to contribute. In a true maker philosophy, every idea is helping. Mhm.
oh, Taylor, it
Taylor,
looks
did
like
you
you're
have a? Oh yeah.
can't
We
quite
can,
hear you, Taylor.
maybe it's your mic.
Sorry, we're not hearing you, Taylor.
Oh, bummer. You could put it in the chat, maybe.
Okay, Lisa. Yeah, yeah, Stuart. Um, if you can, yep, there's our last slide. We want to thank everybody for attending the event, and we would love your feedback. So I'm going to put in the chat a multiple number of links. One is if you want to sign up for our newsletter. Another one is I'm trying to find it is if you want to access our YouTube channel where we keep our a lot of our webinars, and this webinar will eventually be linked to it will be on our YouTube channel. The form for if you're interested in the Problems of Practice project, and even if you just want to be kept updated, that form allows you to give us your information and you just want to be updated, we can do that too. But again, this project is only going to be as good as the number of people we get involved with the different ideas and solutions. We know that there won't be end all be all solutions, but it really helps to hear what other people are doing, what didn't work, what did work, and then that can inform the rest of us that are trying to keep these maker spaces up and running. And then the last link is important. This is the survey link. Please, we would really appreciate it if it's a very short survey. And many of you know how important data is to all of us. And so if you would complete that survey, you can click on it now and then save it to do it later. But we would really like to have the survey done about this information, and there's a place for you to give us more questions. So in any case, if there are no other questions, I thank everybody for coming. And again, if you're not a Library Makers member, you probably had to be to get on this, but
It's
spread the word.
free.
The more people that we get involved in this project, the more valuable we're going to be to others. And we're always open to new ideas. We are always open. If you find that you like this project and you think Library Makers are just the best thing since bread, then let us know, because we're always looking for other leaders. We are looking for our structure is such that we have an elected leadership team from our membership, but then we also have committees, and you do not get elected to the committee. You basically volunteer, and then basically the head person of the committee becomes a part of the leadership team. So we have a continuity of information and communication. But I started out as an ambassador, and here I am. So, and I was a school librarian, and then I was a tech librarian, and I now am a director. So, this is something everybody can find valuable. If you're looking for training for your staff, here's a perfect place to have them, look at our different sessions. And anything else that I'm missing, Lisa or Pam? All
Any
right.
last any last words from our team from Illinois? No. We're
Uh,
very
I I wanted to add that very excited about this action-oriented, volunteer-based approach because of the nature of the forum. We collected all the voices and perspective and made the recommendations, but the forum conclude it's the nature of the forum, right? But I'm so delighted that like this group of librarians and practitioners are actually like working toward to find and share the solutions. So really appreciate it.
Thank you. And Kyungwon, if your students as a professor in a library school are interested in digging into this, please invite them. And if any of others of you are at library schools, I know I'll reach out to my school, San Jose State, where I earned my MLIS, and I'll see if any of those students are interested in a research project like this. Mhm.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, this will be posted in a day or two on our YouTube channel, and we will see you on the news feed. Thank you. Do you want me just to end it, you guys? At it.